Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of The Stack.
The weekly show where we discuss the latest tools, trends, and technologies impacting the world of sales and marketing.
I'm Sean Henry.
And I'm Tim Staberski.
Sounds very official now.
It does sound very official.
We're getting into the swing of things with this. So we're excited that you guys are tuning in. Hope that you'll ask some questions along the way. Today we're going to talk about video.
Video? What's video? That's what we're doing right now, right?
Yeah, this is what we're doing right now. So video is becoming a really important part of marketing. There's a lot of predictions that, I guess, you know, the things are going to pull away from just text-based content. So think of like a traditional blog post, and instead of hiring that next blogger, people are hiring videographers instead. So it's becoming a key part of your marketing efforts, and if it's not yet, hopefully we'll spark your interest and give you some ideas. So that's going to be the focus of the episode today. But before we dive in, Tim, how's your week going?
My week's going pretty well. I am not wearing the same shirt that I've worn for the last 3 episodes, so I'm very proud of myself.
Yes, if you go back and look at the other shows we've done, you'll notice Tim was wearing the same T-shirt every single week. But he doesn't wear the same clothes to work every day.
No, it's a flattering T-shirt. I like it.
Yeah, whenever we're going on Facebook Live, he's got to have that look. So, for me, my big exciting thing this week is that we finally have signs.
We do.
So we moved into the offices, I guess it was the beginning of April. Yeah. And it took us a little while to get some of the signage up, but now we've got it, so that's pretty exciting. So,
and we have those up on the Pepperland Instagram account, right?
I think we do, yeah. Let me show a quick picture of that. So let's see here. So this is actually a sign that my wife made for me. It was a bit of a surprise, and she went to this class with some of her friends, and they're actually called Board and Brush. They're based in Monroe, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen those like painting classes where you go together as a group with a bunch of your friends and you sip wine and you paint and all that. I think it's the same kind of concept, but instead of painting, they make rustic signs. So she made this really cool sign that we haven't hung up yet, but we're going to. And yeah, we're loving it. So if you guys think that sounds interesting, I would definitely encourage you to go check out Board and Brush. They're in Monroe, but I think they also have studios in other part of the country as well. So
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool. And if you're driving around Cheshire, be sure to drive by and admire our sign and stop and say hello if you check it out. What else is?
Well, and we have
been going down this week.
One of our interns pulled together a nifty guide, right?
Yeah. So I was reflecting on how uncool I am these days. So I'm a parent. I have some kids at home, and I'm starting to feel out of touch with what the current lingo is. So our interns actually pulled together a little guide to bring us up to speed, to make us cool. Let me see if I can find that and share that with you. And I'm going to embarrass myself here because that's what I like to do. Hopefully embarrass our interns as well, which is even more fun.
Well, let's name drop. What are our interns' names, Sean?
So we will spare them that embarrassment. But I'm having trouble pulling it up, but I'll read it to you guys. It's How to Be a Hip Parent of the 2010s. And they've crossed out the word hip and replaced it with fire. Turns out fire is a word that people use to describe things these days, so go figure. And it has some very specific examples. So one word that I guess people are using is hip, which stands for
so fire. Fire is synonymous with hip or poppin', which, if you don't know what those words mean, is just something that's cool.
So the example they gave us is that mixtape is fire. So that's something I'm going to use from now on. And we've got another example here. It's throwing shade. Tim, how would you use the phrase throwing shade?
Oh, well, that one's not that new, I guess. Like, you know, that latest Kanye album totally threw some shade on Biggie.
Whoa, way over my head.
Who's Biggie? I don't know.
Another fun one little here. It has my son's name in it, so I'll use it. Sus. Do you know what sus means, Tim?
I don't.
I guess it comes from the word, well, it means suspicious. So the example they gave is, why did Connor leave all of a sudden? He's being sus.
Why did he leave? He's a 6-month-old.
So moving on.
moving on. So did anything catch your eye in the world of marketing this week, Sean?
Yeah. So a bunch of things. I'd say the number one thing is a new product that we're going to get to in just a minute, but also saw some really cool content by HubSpot. They've been doing this weekly webinar series where they kind of go behind the scenes of their marketing efforts, and they've shared some really interesting stuff so far. This week they talked a bit more about the SEO strategy that they've been using, which is topic clusters. We've talked about that a bit on previous episodes. Oh, cool. But they also shared some results of a new strategy they've been using for their blog subscription. Do you subscribe to their blog, or have you in the past?
I do, yeah.
So the HubSpot, especially the marketing blog, but also their sales blog, is probably one of the biggest, most widely read blogs in the world. They have an enormous amount of subscribers. And if you're like me, you've subscribed at one time or another and then realized it was a bit overwhelming, unsubscribed, only to resubscribe a few months later. And that was a trend that they were noticing was beginning to become a bit of a problem. Now, if you do subscribe, you have options for subscribing instantly, daily, or weekly. And a lot of people, by default, they want to get notified as soon as something gets published, not realizing that HubSpot publishes multiple blog posts per day.
Yeah.
So very quickly it gets overwhelming. And the other problem that they were seeing is that they've seen people sort of mature with their own marketing skills over time as they've been subscribed to the blog. So the content that appealed to them when they first signed up maybe doesn't appeal to them anymore. So they were noticing some people would subscribe, but then they would stop engaging after a few sends and ultimately end up unsubscribing. They did a little bit of research to ask why and found out that it was A, overwhelming, just too much content, and B, a lot of it wasn't relevant. They wanted to see more of some things and less of others. So they wrote a blog post about it in typical HubSpot fashion, and I'll quickly go through that with you guys. But it was called, let me go back up to the top, Rethinking Subscriptions, Lesson Learned During the HubSpot Marketing Blog's Email Overhaul. And then we'll put a link to this in the show notes. But it kind of goes through some of the things that I just outlined, the problem that they were seeing, and then summarizes some of the actions that they took, which basically boils down to this. Instead of relying on that default RSS feed subscription that's built into the HubSpot tool, they now curate a series of subscriptions on a weekly basis. So when somebody subscribes to the blog, they're given a chance to customize their preferences. And if you go back to the blog post, I actually have a screenshot of what that email looks like. So the person's thanking them for subscribing to the newsletter, and it's encouraging them to click a link to choose some options and indicate what might be relevant to them and what isn't. And once they do that, they see an option of several subscriptions that they could choose, and then they actually share an example of what those email subscriptions look like. So I thought that was a cool idea. And I guess the moral of the story is if you notice that you're not getting the open rates or click-through rates for your email marketing that you might expect, maybe the answer is just doing a little bit of homework and figuring out how can we personalize it, make it more relevant, maybe putting a little extra effort before you send that content out there.
Makes a lot of sense.
How about you, Tim? Anything catch your eye?
Yeah, so I noticed this week that some of our content was feeling a little over our head.
Yeah.
Over,
like a little wordy almost?
A little difficult to read. And we did a little research and we found this awesome app called the Hemingway App, which is essentially a grader for text. So you just copy and paste some text into the app, and it'll tell you what reading level it's at. Like it'll give you a grade level, like this blog post is reading at grade 6 level, or grade 12, or what have you. And it also tells you areas where you can improve, whether or not sentences are too wordy or too complicated. And that's really important in a content perspective because, there's a lot of research out there that says that the average American adult actually only reads at a 7th or 8th grade level, which if you're a content producer and your viewer is the average American adult and you're putting out content at a 12th grade reading level, they might not understand what you're talking about. Sure. They might just open it, get bored, and close it out. You want to really be able to tailor your content to the level.
It really probably varies depending on who your audience actually is. Of course, so that's like the norm for all of America, but depending on your audience, you might want to aim for a slightly higher grade level or a slightly lower level. it all sort of depends. But I think the key here is that content easy to understand? Don't make me think. That's kind of the rule of thumb that we want to strive for, right?
And that's important not just for the viewer, but also for the search engines, because if the search engine doesn't understand if the reader doesn't understand what you're talking about, then the search engine might not either.
Yeah. So here we actually have an example. We took one of our recent blog posts and plugged it in. And how did it score us, Tim?
Well, this is telling us that that our blog post is grade level 10, which is obviously not grade level 7. So it's it can potentially
So our content is automatically going to be a little bit more technical, so we would expect it to be higher, but as you can see, we have a lot of red on the screen. Yeah.
And that means that we have sentences that are very hard to read or complicated.
I got a question for you. Would you take this, would you take this as very prescriptive and take it word for word, or would you kind of balance your own instincts against the tools?
You have to take everything with a grain of salt. I mean, it's an automated service. It's not going to be, there's not an actual person on the other end of this grading your content, reading it for readability. Just apply your own thoughts to the results.
I really like this one here. 4 phrases have simpler alternatives. I think that's a nice one to leverage. So sometimes you want to use the more interesting, sophisticated word, but that's an area where you could easily lose somebody. So is there a simpler way for you to get a point across? And I think that's one of the more valuable things that this gives you.
Well, and that's going back to the name Hemingway. Hemingway was a very simple writer. He told amazing stories, but he used very simple language. He didn't use overly descriptive words. He didn't complicate things. So that's where it gets its name from.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm assuming, anyway.
Should we go on to our questions, or what's next, Tim?
Well, I think we wanted to talk about
our featured segment.
Yeah, Wistia,
so
right?
Video. Yeah, so this was a big announcement this week. If you guys have ever heard of the company Wistia, they make a video platform where you can embed your own videos on your website. Gives you incredible analytics. It integrates with a lot of popular marketing automation platforms like HubSpot, Marketo. And if you're using video in your marketing efforts, it's really a great tool to have. It's kind of a much more sophisticated version of YouTube, essentially. So they just announced, actually they were having their annual user conference. Fortunately, we weren't there this year, but I believe at the conference they probably announced this tool, sent out a big email to everybody, and it's called Soapbox. And the whole idea behind it is they realize that people are trying to embrace this kind of on-the-fly, off-the-cuff video production, which I really love. Producing video shouldn't be this massive undertaking. Yeah, I mean, yes, if you could afford to hire a videographer, please do. But a lot of companies can't. They're just not at that point yet, and they still want to bring video into the mix. This is an awesome extension. It's completely free. That makes it super easy to do just that. So that was definitely one of the more interesting things that I saw this week, and I'm kind of excited to show you guys. So let me give you a quick test run. Here's what I'll do. Let me switch over back to our tutorial. So what I'm looking at right now, this is a page on the website where you can go and subscribe to be notified whenever we have a new episode of the Stack. So definitely encourage you guys to go there and check it out. But let's say I want to use this extension. The first place I'm going to go is wistia.com/soapbox. Now, I've already done this, but it guides you through the process of installing that app. And if you're using Chrome and you've installed it, you're going to see this little icon that looks like a camera. I don't know if you guys could see it. It's in the upper right-hand corner of my screen. But you click on that.
And how long was the download? Fairly quick?
Yeah, fairly quick. So because the way that the screen sharing for Facebook Live works, it's not showing you guys the extension, which I really wanted to show you, so this is a bit of a bummer. So I'm going to just jump ahead and show you the finished product. I recorded an example earlier today, but you guys can see in this example, it uses your webcam for one side of the screen and then allows you to either show a presentation or a product that you're trying to demo or something in your browser, so you can do this kind of live guided tutorial of your content. So it's a nice, super professional thing. And I did a quick little demo video here, which I'll play really quick. you won't hear the audio because we have it muted, but you can see I've got the Facebook stream over on the right-hand side, and then you've got my webcam shot over on the left. And the super cool thing about this is it's going to automatically do that layout for you, but you can go in here and you could change the color to match your brand colors. So if we didn't want this to be blue, we want it to be green, you just drag it over and it changes the color bar at the bottom. And you can customize your thumbnail. So if I were to click thumbnail, it would switch over to my webcam again, and I could take another screenshot if I didn't like the one that was automatically captured. And then you click the share button, and you would click copy thumbnail link to clipboard. And then you can go over into Gmail and just simply paste it in. And you get this nice thumbnail of the video. I can click on this, send it over to somebody. They see the thumbnail of the video, they click on the link, and they're brought to a page where they can watch it on the fly.
So it won't play directly in the email?
No, it won't, but it'll make it very clear to the recipient that, hey, this person just sent you a video, and pretty highly likely to click on that. In here you can see what that looks like. It's got my custom player and everything. So super cool tool. And the other thing that I really like about what they did is they wrote a blog post outlining some common use cases. And we'll put this in the show notes as well. But you don't want to just start fiddling around with the tool. You should have some good ideas of how you might leverage it. So this will give you some inspiration, and we're going to share some of those examples with you really quick. The first one that I really liked was using the tool to do a weekly data update. So this is one that might be relevant to us. This person's giving a weekly social media report. Sometimes we have a client who is unable to join our weekly check-in, and we want to make sure that we always do those because this is how we kind of keep them in the loop on the work that we're doing for them. This is how we get feedback about what they're working on. But things happen. Sometimes they can't join that call. So this is a really cool way where we could still share the meeting notes, give them an update on performance, and still have that kind of personal interaction that we strive for.
It's really important, especially for agencies and marketing departments, to have that bond, and this makes it easy.
But you could see somebody using this internally as well. So if you're not in the agency world and you've been working on a project, you want to give your boss a quick update, or let's say your teams are dispersed around the country or around the world, this allows you to have, it's almost like you're in the room with that person, but you're sending them an email and giving them an update on a project. So I thought that was super, super useful. Yeah. What's another example, Tim?
Well, another potential use could be a webinar invite.
Love it. Yeah.
If you're already planning on making a video for your webinar, why not make a video to send out the invitation? You can use it to preview your content, share some slides before the event before the webinar to make sure that it's actually content that they're interested in, and just generally drum up excitement about the webinar. I
love it. And here's an example of somebody over at Wistia doing just that. So they've got a fun little animated GIF. The presenter is right there on the screen, so the person sees who they'd be listening to if they tuned in for a half hour or an hour.
If you don't like their voice, you don't like their personality, you don't have to sit through the actual webinar.
Yeah. But I think this is something we're going to do. So we've got a few on-demand webinars that have gotten some good engagement, and I think if we were to do this, we might see a higher conversion rate on our landing pages. Yeah. So awesome use case. Might even start doing that this week. Next one, great idea. Although I think the use case really, you got to take this with a grain of salt. So they recommend using it for a sales pitch, which I love. I think it's a great idea. A lot of sales is done via email and over the phone these days versus the old days where you'd be on the road going door to door, and you get a lot of that face-to-face interaction. So what if, as you're doing your prospecting efforts, you notice that, hey, Mr. Prospect, I see that you're opening up a new facility. We offer a solution that, helps you with X, Y, and Z. And typically people want to talk to us at that point in time where they're planning out that new facility. Maybe we should set up some time to talk. And this way they get to see that person face to face. They know who they'd be working with. Nice way to make it more human, which is kind of the whole theme of this feature.
It's like sales and marketing. You always want to be building that bond.
Yeah.
It helps you close the deal. So It's a
people buy from people they like. I think there's truth to that. So this allows you to start to build that personal relationship in the sales process. Much more effective than just a boring old email, right?
On a related note, another use in the world of sales for the Soapbox would be to demo products. To use it for a product demo. Product demos will always be a part of the sales process, even in the world of inbound sales and marketing,
and for customer success too, right? So once somebody's
already
using your solution, you want to keep them engaged.
Yeah.
You potentially want them using products that they haven't tried, features that they haven't tried yet. So, really cool example. Let's see what they demoed here. Skipping ahead a little bit. I see. So they're actually showcasing how to use Playwright in Wistia. Perfect example. Might be a feature that some of their users weren't paying attention to or were overlooking. So super cool example.
Yeah.
How we doing? Any questions in the chat?
The chat is quiet today.
Yeah, guys, if you're following along, jump in, ask us questions. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. What do we have next, Tim? What's the next one on the list?
Quick ticket answers.
Love it. Yeah. So we get those all the time. But if you're in customer service, same kind of thing as that product demo. Instead of sending them some boring screenshot or a step-by-step instruction, you could probably get that point across in a much more effective.
Well, it's so much easier for someone to just follow along with the video and duplicate your steps to fixing their problem than it would be to be reading an email and try to okay, I have to go up here and click that, blah blah blah. It's just a lot simpler.
Yeah, and in this example, the guy's wearing headphones. It looks like he's recording this video at home. So it really kind of drills in that point that just because it's video, it doesn't need to be this super high produced work of art. It really could just be you popping on a pair of headphones, connecting your microphone and guiding somebody through how to use a tool. And what I like about this example, they're showing how you could switch between that split view and the full screen view. So if you really want somebody focused on what you're trying to guide them through, this is an excellent way to do that.
It's pretty cool.
Another thing I love about the tool. What else?
So that's sales and marketing and customer service, but there's also uses for Soapbox in the world of human resources, HR. Let's say you have a company-wide announcement. There's a taco party.
A taco party, I love it.
On Taco Tuesday. And you want everyone to know and show up. But you don't have time to write an email or come up with a flyer or whatever. Just, open up Soapbox, record a quick little video, send it out, and you're good to go. On that note, you want to make sure that you're using it for appropriate announcements and not, massive layoffs.
Not we're about to.
You don't want to be sharing bad news this way because it's probably just not the best.
So it could be a really cool way to really build up company culture.
Yeah.
Make it feel like a fun work environment. Especially effective if you have multiple locations and you're not all in the same room. So love it. I think it's a super cool idea. Next example they offer is the onboarding welcome. Let's pretend you're a candidate for a position, and you just got the offer letter, the person's accepted, and now it's kind of quiet. You get really nervous. What's my boss going to be like? What's my boss going to be like? What should I expect in that first day? This could be a really cool way to kind of break the ice a little bit, right?
Yeah, for sure. If I had gotten one of these Soapbox videos from Sean before starting at Pepperland, I, for instance, might have not started working at Pepperland. No, I love you, Sean.
It's an awesome point. So you could do the video, say, hey, looking forward to have you start. Day one, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. You could even bring the team into the shot really quick, spin the camera around, show them what the office is going to look like, show them their new cubicle or whatever it might be. Nice way to get them excited.
Well, and even before the actual hiring process, if it's during interviews, you can use a video like this to share the company culture to make sure that they're a good fit before they even apply. Because if they're not a good fit, why go through the trouble?
I love it. It's an awesome idea.
And then the last example they give is to actually use Soapbox to record a cover video instead of a cover letter. And that's really cool because cover letters stink. They're boring to write and they're boring to read. And, the more modern companies that you start applying to, the more technologically focused they're going to be. So being able to show that you have experience with video, with these other tools, could be a real benefit.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And this guy's having some fun, too. He's talking about how much lemonade he's had in his lifespan, which I'm sure the hiring manager is...
Well, and yeah, you can use this to really tailor your application process to the company you're applying to, as opposed to a dry, boring, cover letter where all you can do is change the font.
It's awesome. Yeah. If you guys are using this and you have some additional ideas, some ways that you could leverage video, whether it's through Soapbox or through other means, would love to hear them. Jump into the chat and let us know.
Yeah. All we've got in the chat so far is Thomas Henry saying I'm watching. So, hello.
Those Henrys, they like to keep tabs on their family. Thanks for following along.
Yeah. Oh, Kevin is also watching. So moving on, you want to talk about the questions this week? That we're looking at?
So we, kind of in the whole inbound mindset, we like to share our knowledge. We look for questions that people are asking, whether that's on social media or in the HubSpot community. And each week on the show, we handpick a few of those questions that we've either answered or intend to answer and try to add a little bit more detail. So
it's an opportunity for us to feel important and smart.
Yeah. So what's our first question today?
So the first question comes from Trisha on Twitter, actually, and she's saying, "Help on HubSpot. How do you track behavior of known contacts on ungated landing pages and file views?" Anyone?
How do you track behavior on known contacts on ungated landing pages and file views? Okay, yes, I had to refresh my memory here. So, it's an interesting question. So let's say you've created an ebook and your blog posts are ranking really well in search results, and somebody comes and downloads that ebook, and once they do that, if you're using HubSpot, they're going to be cookied. So you could see everything that they viewed on your website, how they came there in the first place. Did they come from social media? Did they come from search? Did they come back to the website? What pages did they view the second time they came around? But over time, if they're not submitting forms over and over again, they may clear their cookies, and now you can no longer track their activity. I think that's what she's asking about, right?
Yeah.
So for sure, you would want to know if that person comes back and is browsing your website. You want to see what they're doing, because that could be a signal that it's time to reach out to that person. Pick up the phone, call them, or shoot them an email and say, "Hey, just wanted to check on you, see how that project was moving along. Does it make sense for us to regroup?" Or if you are comfortable doing this, you could say, "Hey, I saw somebody at your company was on our pricing page, or watched a demo. Should we talk about that?" The problem is, if they're not cookied, how are you going to know that they did it? Not an exact answer, but if you have their email address, hopefully you're nurturing them and you're occasionally sending out some more interesting content that's going to spark their interest, keep them engaged, keep them coming back. If you do that and they click on your email, that'll re-cookie them. So anytime they come to your website, you should see that activity. And if you're using the sales extension that's free, that comes with HubSpot, you could notify yourself whenever a contact that you own comes back to the website. So I would say that's the best option. Keep them cookied, keep them happy, and then you'll have that information right in front of you, like exactly when you need it. You can also get really sophisticated and create some workflows that will trigger an email to the HubSpot owner and says, "Hey Bob, Jill just visited the contact page and it might be a good time to reach out. Here's the last page they viewed. Here's how they came to the website. Here's some resources that you could leverage when you contact them." Again, that requires that the person would be cookied. But if you get a lot of traffic, you have a decent sized sales team, it could be a really smart thing to set up. Worst case scenario is that they've cleared their cookies and they're no longer on the website. They're no longer being logged as they're browsing your website. And I would say this is pretty typical. So in a way, you cannot determine when that person's back on your website. But with a little bit of investigation, you could get there. And I'm going to show you guys how. So let me go over into a demo portal. We'll let this load. So I'm pulling up HubSpot, and this is just a demo portal, so none of the information in here is real. But I'm on the sales side of the software, the CRM. So if you're only using the marketing software, you'll need to enable this first. Strongly recommend it. Gives you a lot of great stuff that you wouldn't have otherwise, and it's free. But I'm on the sales side, and over on the right-hand side of the menu, if I go to Sales Tools, I'm going to go down to this Prospects Report. Let's take a quick look at that. The internet just loves to go slow when you're streaming live on Facebook and demoing things. But here's that report. So we have the tracking script on a website, and all of these people, all these companies that you're seeing, it looks like United Illuminated, Yale University, University of Maryland, there's Quinnipiac University. These are all local organizations. Middlesex Hospital, State of Connecticut, Massachusetts Mutual Life. These are actual people from companies who have been on the website, and all of these people were on the website today. And it's giving me their domain. It's telling me how many page views. So in other words, how engaged were they when they were on the website? Was it just a single person, or were there multiple visitors? So if you want to know when a company or an account that you've been targeting is back on the website, this is a really powerful way for you to get to that information. And again, you don't know who the individual is.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Tim?
Well, if you look here, you can see someone at Yale University, they viewed 30 pages. There were 22 visitors.
Yeah.
And it's like, something's going on over there. You might want to reach out. If you have a contact, reach out to that contact. If you don't have a contact, do a little digging and find it out.
And that's, what I would probably start with is I'd look for those examples where there's been multiple people on the website and they've viewed multiple pages, because they're going to be more engaged. But you can click here and it's going to tell you exactly what pages they went to on the website. So what I might do as a next step is click view on LinkedIn, look at that company, speculate who that person might be, or if there's somebody I've been working with in the past, you could reasonably conclude that maybe it was them browsing that content. I should check in and see how they're doing. So hopefully that answered your question. But if not, yeah.
It's at least an answer, if not the answer.
Yeah. What else we got, Tim?
So our other question this week comes from Rob on the HubSpot community, and he's asking about excluding specific contacts from the data in HubSpot.
Okay.
So his question is, I think there's a way to indicate contacts who you don't want to count as page views or get notified when they're on your site or in your metrics, etc. For example, if someone from our own company is on our website, where can I find that setting? And he's right. There is a way to do that, right, Sean?
There is, yeah. And this is something a lot of people overlook, but it's a great question. I'm glad they asked. So absolutely do not want to be inflating your own numbers. Especially if you got a large team, you're going to see, let's say if you go into your Google Analytics data, there is sometimes it could be as much as 50% of visits to your website are actually coming from internal visits.
Or vendors, or...
Yeah, so your conversion rates look low. It looks like certain pages on your website are more popular than they actually are. Same is true in HubSpot. You want to make sure that activity is getting filtered out. You also don't want to see your tests kind of appearing on timelines and so on. So what you would need to do here is just go in. Well, first I believe you have to go into the marketing side of the software. But you're going to go into settings. Actually, we go to content settings. For those following along, if I'm wrong about this for a second, forgive me. Let's see. I think this is where we want to be. No. Let's see if we can find it. I might have to dig around for this, but there's an area in your settings where you can go and basically block your IP address from being tracked. And I thought it was in the right area. I guess I went to the wrong area. but that's okay. There is a way for you to do this. So what you would do is go to ipchicken.org. There's some other websites that'll tell you your IP address, or check with your IT team.
Yeah.
See if there's one IP address or a range of IPs, and then make sure you filter that out from your reports. But we'll actually write up instructions so you guys know exactly where to go and put that in the show notes.
And Rob will specifically answer your question in the community.
Cool.
If you're watching.
We have any other questions or any questions in the chat? Are we still kind of quiet today?
We are quiet in the chat today.
It's all good. Okay.
Probably because we're doing it on Thursday and not
Yes.
Friday.
Yes. So we started. We did it a day early this week. Usually we go live Fridays at 1:00, but Father's Day is coming up, and I don't feel like working tomorrow. So.
And yeah, well, that's a good enough reason, right?
Yeah, more or less. So we went live early this week, but we'll be back to our normal schedule Fridays at
1 p.m.
1 p.m. So before we, Tim,
well, it's just to close out this week's episode. Do you have any
I have a
jokes
joke.
of the week?
I have a
Sean?
joke for you, Tim. What kind of marketing does Dracula do? What kind of marketing does Dracula do? If you're following along the chat, let us know your answer in the comments.
Hold on, give me like 10 seconds.
Do you guys know? No?
I have no idea, Sean. What kind of marketing does Dracula do?
Account-based marketing. No.
Ooh.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
I was thinking blood for some reason. It's like, where this is going to get dark.
And we also have a cartoon of the week, which, I'm not that impressed this week, but hey, maybe some of you think it's funny. It's Bob and Joe's glass-filled pillows, and he says, I don't know, Joe, maybe we're using the wrong kind of glass because they're not selling.
I like that one, actually. It's pretty funny. It's a dry humor.
Very, very dry.
Was it from the New York Times?
So this actually comes from GrowthBot. We demoed that last week, and all you have to do is say, show me the cartoon of the week, and GrowthBot is going to spit that out to you, which is actually how I got my joke of the week. So let's give that another try. Tell me a marketing joke. Let's see what it tells us. Why do search engineers not like twins?
I don't know, Sean. Why?
Duplicate content. Yeah.
Because they're twins.
Yeah.
Get it?
I think it's funny.
I think it's funny.
Thanks
too.
for following along. We'll see you next week, Friday at 1:00. Go to pepperlandmarketing.com/thestack. Which actually doesn't work yet, but I'll make it work. And you can see the show notes, links to anything that we mentioned, and be sure to subscribe and get notified about next week.
And you can always go back and check out the last week's and older videos.
Thanks, guys.